Good afternoon, everyone. So we are beginning a new series, Pirkei Avos. Pirkei Avos is known as the Ethics of the Fathers in many translations. I think today we're going to just do an introduction. For many of you, you may be familiar with a lot of this, but it's always worth a review. And that is that, what is Pirkei Avos? So it's unique because it's a part of the Mishnah, which means it's part of the oral Torah, and it's one tractate at the end of a section which is known as Nezikin, which is the laws of damages. So to back up a second, we have the oral law and the written law, right? So the written law we know is the 5 books of Moshe, the Torah, and the oral law is all of the information, interpretations of the Torah, other laws that were handed orally down, explanations of the written law that were handed orally down. All of that was given at Sinai at the same time, but it was oral. And the idea was that people would have to study it and pay attention to it and really give it their all. Because when things are written down, especially if it's really well written, then sometimes you don't have to pay so much attention to knowing it. You can just figure, I can read it anytime. But if it's oral, then you have to work on it in order to memorize it and remember it. So therefore, you have to review it. And one of the reasons why the Mishnah is called the Mishnah is because the word Mishnah also means to repeat or to learn something. And in order to review, you have to review a lot in order to make sure you know it. Originally, the oral law is exactly that. It was meant to be or totally oral, not written down at all. However, in the year approximately 88 of the Common Era, or 188 of the Common Era, Rabbi Yehuda Hanossi, who was the leader of the time, understood that the people were not going to be able to keep memorizing everything. There was obviously a lot of strife going on in the land of Israel at the time, and he decided that they were going to write things down, and it was written down, which is known as the Mishnah. The Mishnah is divided into 6 sections, which in Hebrew we say Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, 6 sections, 6 orders of the Mishnah. And in the vernacular, we call it Shas. If you've ever heard the term, someone knows the entire Shas, they know the entire Talmud, because the Talmud is the explanation of the Mishnah. Someone who knows all of that, they've gone through all of the aspects of the oral law. So we have these 6 sections. And as I said, Avos is in the section dealing with damages. Now, we're going to see it's a lot of laws we call ethics. There are things which you may say, well, where's the law? Looks like it's a nice thing to do, right? In Hebrew, sometimes in Yiddish, it's maybe you use the word derech eretz, right? Derech eretz, we've heard the term. Derech eretz is a term used it actually in the slang, we use it for good manners or how to behave yourself. Have some derech eretz is a way of saying have some respect. But derech eretz really literally means the way of the land, and it's how you conduct yourself in all of your dealings with other people. And those are laws also. It's not just a nice thing to do, to have good manners or to do certain things in certain situations, but there are laws as how to behave. And the Mishnah in Avos is a compilation of all of the different laws that were taught by the various sages in the time period preceding that area, so for a few hundred years preceding. And it is all based on the oral law that was handed down. So behavior, in many ways, is also law. One of the reasons why it was placed in this section dealing with damages is because damages are also things that are interpersonal, right? That when we do something against someone else, and there are not just monetary damages, there are also emotional damages that you can do to a person. And a person has to also be able to be ethical and moral. And one of the things about, again, with damages is you need court system in order to deal with it. Well, a judge has to be ethical, a judge has to be moral. And Pirkei Avos teaches us about many things for the average person, but also how a judge has to be extra careful. The people who are quoted in Avos were all leaders of the generations. Many were members of the Sanhedrin, the high court. And therefore, part of the section here, which is dealing with how to live with other people and not harm them, the idea of damages, so too, how to live with other people and not harm them in, I say, an emotional way. And we know that you can be a person who is hurtful and harmful without actually physically attacking someone else either, right? We know that just with our words, we are able to hurt other people, and therefore we have to be very careful. A person has to therefore work on refining your own character, and that's what the section of Avos is dealing with, but it's also dealing with our relationship to Hashem as well. It's not only dealing with our relationship to other people, it also is telling us about our relationship to Hashem and how we can work on that as well. The Gemara tells us in Bava Kama that if a person wants to be what's called a chassid, which is really someone who's very, very good, person who's, you want to be extra special in your character, you should learn the laws of damages. And Rabbi Yehuda said that. Rabbi says, learn this section, learn the words of Avos. That if you learn this section and you learn this Mishnah, then you will be able to really uplift your character and become a much better person, because you will be that much more careful in how you deal with others. There's one of the later commentaries points out that another opinion that was mentioned was to learn the laws of brachos. If you learn the laws of blessings, what does laws of blessings have to do with refining your character? Because a person who is cognizant of the blessings before you eat food, before you take part of something, you are also acknowledging that what you have is coming from Hashem. You're perfecting your relationship with Hashem. So therefore, one of the commentaries says that brachos, saying blessings and being careful and knowing the laws and understanding the importance of it, that helps you perfect your relationship with God. The monetary laws in this section of Nezikin, they help you to perfect your relationship with other people. And this tractate of Avos helps us perfect both our relationship with other people and our relationship with Hashem. And that's, as we go in, we will see that the Mishnah is going to begin with the tradition of how things came from Sinai. And then once it lays that out, it's going to go and give us various sayings that different sages had said. And it's going to, the first chapter for sure is going to go in order of one generation to the next. And we see how the tradition was handed down. Going all the way back to Sinai, we'll be able to see that the oral law was given at Sinai, and each successive generation had leadership that were the scholars and Torah scholars of that generation who were taught by the previous generation. It was an unbroken chain. And up until today, as we receive it from our teachers who received it from their teachers. And we'll hold it there for today. And tomorrow we will begin the first Mishnah. Have a great day, everyone.